Did you know about the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a legendary wonder of ancient Iraq that may have been real, or, well, just a myth? The Hanging Gardens of Babylon stand among the most captivating tales from the ancient world. Counted as one of the fabled 7 wonders of the world, they have inspired centuries of curiosity, artistic imagination, and scholarly debate. Descriptions of the gardens conjure visions of a lush paradise rising above the desert landscape of Mesopotamia, filled with cascading greenery, fragrant flowers, exotic trees, and, honestly, some pretty ingenious engineering that made water flow upward to sustain such a marvel. Yet one of the enduring mysteries is whether these gardens ever truly existed, or whether they were instead a poetic invention passed down through generations of storytelling. Situated in what is now modern Iraq, the gardens remain shrouded in both allure and uncertainty. According to accounts from classical writers, the gardens were said to have been built in the city of Babylon, which flourished along the Euphrates River and became one of the greatest centers of Mesopotamian civilization. Babylon was renowned for its monumental architecture, advanced culture, and wealth. It was during the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled from 605 to 562 BCE, that the gardens are most often said to have been created. Nebuchadnezzar was known as a grand builder, credited with fortifying the city walls, erecting magnificent temples, and constructing the famed Ishtar Gate. In this context, the story of the Hanging Gardens fits perfectly into the vision of Babylon as a city of splendor. Yet despite such associations, ancient Babylonian records that survive make no mention of the gardens at all, raising doubts about their authenticity. Greek historians such as Strabo and Philo of Byzantium provided vivid descriptions of the gardens centuries after they were supposedly constructed. They spoke of terraces stacked one above another, creating the impression of a mountain covered with trees and vines. The term hanging in the title does not necessarily mean plants suspended from ropes, but rather gardens that appeared to hang in the air because they grew on elevated platforms. Ingenious systems of irrigation were described, including screw pumps or chain-driven water lifts that carried water from the river to the highest terrace. If these accounts are accurate, the gardens would have represented an extraordinary feat of engineering unmatched in their time. The reason behind their construction, according to one tradition, was deeply romantic. Nebuchadnezzar is said to have built the gardens for his queen, Amytis of Media. Coming from the mountainous and verdant regions of her homeland, Amytis longed for the green landscape she had left behind. In response, the king commissioned the creation of an artificial mountain adorned with vegetation, so that she might feel at home in the flat and arid environment of Babylon. This story adds an element of personal devotion and human emotion to the grandeur of the tale, making the gardens not only a technical achievement, but also a symbol of love and cultural blending. However, the question of whether the Hanging Gardens truly existed continues to puzzle historians and archaeologists. Excavations in Babylon have uncovered remains of impressive structures, including palace foundations and irrigation canals, but no definitive evidence of terraced gardens has come to light. Some scholars suggest that the descriptions preserved by Greek writers were based on second-hand reports or confused memories of other places. In fact, one alternative theory proposes that the gardens were not in Babylon at all, but rather in Nineveh, the Assyrian capital located further north in Mesopotamia. In this view, the gardens may have been built by King Sennacherib in the 7th century BCE, who was known for his advanced irrigation projects. Inscriptions from his reign describe lush gardens and water systems that sound remarkably similar to the later accounts of the Hanging Gardens. The possibility that the legend was a misattribution underscores the challenges of reconstructing ancient history. Written sources from antiquity often combined fact with embellishment, and later authors sometimes projected their own ideas of grandeur onto earlier civilizations. The image of a lush paradise rising from the desert may have been so captivating that it became accepted as truth, even in the absence of concrete proof. For the Greeks and Romans who preserved the tale, the Hanging Gardens symbolized both human ingenuity and the power of kingship, qualities they admired in the civilizations of the East. Despite the uncertainty, the idea of the Hanging Gardens has left a lasting mark on culture and imagination. Artists through the ages have depicted them as tiered towers overflowing with vines, waterfalls, and flowering plants. Writers have described them as earthly representations of paradise, echoing the theme of a lost Eden in the midst of human civilization. In modern times, they have become a symbol of Iraq's ancient heritage and, a reminder of the mysteries still hidden beneath the sands of Mesopotamia. The very fact that their existence is uncertain has only added to their allure, allowing them to live on as a dream of human achievement. The technical aspects of the gardens, if they did exist, are equally fascinating to consider. How could ancient builders have raised water to such heights in a region where rainfall was scarce and the sun burned fiercely? The most common theory is that an early form of the Archimedes screw or a chain pump was used, devices that could lift water continuously from the river to higher levels. Such technology would have required a high degree of innovation and organization, reflecting the sophistication of Mesopotamian engineering. The terraces themselves would have needed strong foundations, perhaps of stone or baked brick, to support the weight of soil and vegetation. To prevent water from seeping through and collapsing the structure, layers of reed bitumen and lead may have been used as waterproofing. If such measures were indeed employed, the hanging gardens would represent a masterclass in architectural and hydraulic skill, centuries ahead of their time. The symbolic significance of the gardens should not be overlooked. In Mesopotamian culture, gardens were not only places of beauty but also reflections of cosmic order and divine favor. To cultivate greenery in the harsh climate was to demonstrate control over nature and to mirror the abundance of the gods. A monumental garden rising within the heart of Babylon would have signified both the king's authority and his role as a provider of prosperity for his people. For Queen Amethyst, if the story is true, it would also have embodied the union of different cultures and the blending of landscapes from Media and Mesopotamia. Thus, the Hanging Gardens can be seen as more than just a wonder of engineering, but also a profound cultural statement. Today, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon remain one of the great enigmas of history. Were they an extraordinary reality now lost to time, their remains buried beneath centuries of change? Or were they a dazzling myth that grew in the telling, a story meant to capture the imagination of generations? Perhaps they were something in between, a smaller-scale construction that later writers exaggerated into a world wonder. Whatever the truth, their legacy endures in the very questions they raise. They remind us of the limits of historical knowledge, the power of human imagination, and the desire to believe in marvels that transcend ordinary experience. In the end, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon represent not only a mystery of archaeology, but also a window into the human spirit. They embody the longing for beauty in harsh places, the capacity of love to inspire great works, and the enduring dream of paradise on earth. Whether real or mythical, they hold their place among the 7 wonders of the world as a symbol of creativity, ambition, and the timeless fascination with what lies just beyond the reach of certainty.